First, let's start with this case. I've seen posts about this kind of stuff on this sub, like throwing popcorn at phone users, being thrown an empty cup of coffee for using their phone in a movie theater. Edit. But this is different, so I want y'all's thoughts on this. A woman in front of me started to use her phone excessively. I wouldn't mind if she used it to check the time, edit, or anything for a bit, not just the time, but it looked like she was texting. After what felt like 5 minutes, probably was only a minute, I bent down and whispered to her it's distracting. She put it away, then pulled it out again after a bit to use it for a while. I bent down and started poking around her phone, not knowing what I was poking at, because it's none of my business. I was just poking at it. I didn't do it for a full second because she immediately put it down and said, "What the hell?" I heard a person say, "Shh." Second time, she pulled out her phone. I did it again. She never pulled her phone out again. I didn't give a flying stone because if she would report this, either we'd both be out or she would, because she would be outing herself. The only way a stranger can poke at your phone is if you have your phone out. I thought the way I handled it was quiet. I told her once that it was distracting. She was the one who pulled out her phone, but at the same time, I did put my finger on her belonging, which is why I'm here. I don't want to go out of the movie theater to report. Have y'all ever done that? Does it often work? If so, then the movie theaters I go to suck here. I don't want to miss out on a scene because of some person who felt at home out in public. Post done, the rest are edits. Edit. I definitely would have handled this better. Thank you guys for the input. I won't touch a person's screen again for such a petty reason. This is embarrassing. Second edit was unnecessary lol. One is sufficient. Let's start judging. Everyone sucks. But I really want justified idiot. That's definitely an idiot thing to do, but I applaud you for doing it. I wouldn't touch a person or their property, because you don't know how they will escalate the situation if you do. In the future, you have to get the staff because they are equipped to handle her, and they have the authority to police the movie theater. And you don't. Don't know where you live, but there was a guy who had popcorn thrown at him in a theater. I think he was using his phone, and someone tossed popcorn at him as a final act. Crazy witch shot the person. In Canada, I'm not too worried about that, though. Next up, when I was 17, my mom came into money. She tried to keep it quiet, but she paid off my dad's debts, bought him a small house, paid off her debts, and paid for my sister's college and set up funds for mine. She had a boyfriend at the time, and shortly after, him and his son, who was 7, moved into our new house. Over the next few years, Mom bought my sister a house after she graduated college. Her boyfriend lived with us and didn't pay anything, but he did work. When I was 21, Mom got diagnosed with cancer. It wasn't good. She sat me and my sister down and went over exactly how much money there was. She intended to give her current house to me, and both me and my sister were left with a large sum at the end of it. She asked if I would allow her boyfriend to stay in the house with his son until he got his own place. I agreed. Before she died, she told her boyfriend he would need to look for his own place, but had time to save more for that journey. For the last 4 years, he has continued to reside in the house with his son. I haven't minded because we get along okay. I pay all the bills, but he does buy food for him and his kid. He has dated off and on and mostly kept the women out of this house, which I respected him for, until his current partner. She's been in my house 3 times, and at first, besides feeling a little uncomfortable, I was okay with her. The last time this past weekend was the point where I lost my mind. I was making myself some lunch when she came walking downstairs. She grabbed a plate and went to grab food out of my pan. I asked her what she thought was doing. She started telling me how I should look for somewhere else to live, and leeching off my dead mom's past relationship as an adult was pathetic. I hollered for my mom's old boyfriend. He came down and I told him I didn't know what he current thing thought, but I wasn't going to be disrespected in my house. He wouldn't even look me in the eyes as he mumbled something about my mom promising him the house, and he was just being kind, letting me stay. First, that isn't remotely true. Mom pulled him and I together after she asked if he could stay to set expectations. My mom met him shortly before she won the money and told him and us girls that she had no intention of leaving him money. She did set aside a fund for his son for college when he gets there, but he cannot touch it. Only his son can. He has lived in this house almost 8 years without paying a dime. He should have plenty of money, and if he doesn't, that's on him. I told him he had 30 days to leave. I wasn't going to house someone who would lie and disrespect me in my house. He left that night with his son, but his ex-wife called to tell me I am cruel and an idiot for her son losing his house. He is here every other week. I really feel like my mom didn't expect him to still be here, but my sister said she feels like I am breaking my promise to my mom, and that made me feel like maybe I am the idiot. Let's start judging. You're not in the wrong. The critical part here is that your mom asked you to let him stay until he got his own place, and to give him time to find one. In that time, instead of looking to move somewhere else, he continued to settle into life in the house, to the point where he even started bringing a new girlfriend along. He moved on, but didn't move out. Him lying to her and telling her this was his house tells you everything you need to know about his actual intentions to leave. You kicking him out wasn't abrupt. The clock had run out on your mother's kindness and your obligation to her a long time ago, and he was living there on generously borrowed time. If it happened exactly how you said, you're not the idiot. If she did say he had time to save, but would need to look for his own place, that means she never imagined or wanted him staying for long. So you're breaking no promises. Did she leave him any money or assets? It's totally possible that your mother would be livid if she knew her boyfriend was still living with her son after 4 years. You're not in the wrong. Your mom asked you to let the boyfriend live there until he could find a place of his own. She was most likely considering that it would take a few months at most, not 4 years. You do not need to feel guilty about the son either. A place he goes every other weekend is not home. And he is grieved and is clearly planning on moving on. He told this woman it was his house, and she insulted you. He needs to stop leeching off of your mother and your inheritance. He can get his own life together and get his own place to live now, as per the agreement he made with your mother. You're not in the wrong. You have been more than kind. Next up, so this is actually the day after the funeral, but all of one side of my family got together for my grandfather's funeral, and everything was fine until this morning. I got a cold after the first day of staying with them, and had been trying to treat it and get better while also staying away from people as to not get them sick. But my family wants me to keep going places with them, which obviously has a high chance of getting everyone else sick, as well as we all be in one car while I'm coughing. Don't even mention wearing a mask. They'll yell at me if I bring one into public. I have a persistent sore throat, coughing, and also had a horrendous migraine the first day I caught it. The whole time I've been trying to treat myself, my grandmother has been telling me I'm not sick, I just have a sore throat. Yesterday I had a fever of 99.9 degrees Fahrenheit, to which she said was not a fever and that I wasn't sick while I was coughing like crazy. Last night I was feeling a lot better, and my temperature went down to 95.5 degrees Fahrenheit. But this morning I wake up and just feel terrible again and am coughing more. I obviously want to be left alone, but my grandmother starts to come over to get in my face and poke and tease me like she always does. And she knows I hate when she does this, because after the first time of her doing it, I always try to get away from her when she does it, and then she complains, "Why don't you like to be touched?" This morning, I just didn't want to deal with it, and started saying no, right when she started coming towards me. She kept coming, and I said no louder and louder 4 times, until she started to reach for me and get in my face, and I finally pushed her hand away and yelled, "No." Then she looks at me with the most offended face and tells me, "You do not talk to me that way. This is my house." Then I start saying how I'm sick, and she keeps getting in my face and how nobody here seems to understand what the hell no means. Obviously, she starts yelling at me that I'm not sick, then decides to go off on my mother about the way she's raised me. I'm full-grown adult, so now my mother is mad at me for my grandmother going off on her. And nobody here seems to understand the concept of obviously wanting to be left alone, and why you should maybe actually consider a person's protests to what you're doing to bother them. My grandmother is waiting for me to apologize to her, thinking she didn't do anything to warrant my reaction, when I straight up explained what the reason was, and my mother wants me to apologize, cause we're basically disowned as of right now. This has nothing to do with my pride with apologizing. I want them to get it through their head why I yelled. I've been sick for 3 days, been getting told I'm not sick, and have had people getting too close to me and wanting me to go places while in extremely close proximity to other people. I want to be left alone once, and they act as though I'm at fault, even though I said no 4 times. Edit. Grandmother said sorry, but I have a sneaking suspicion she doesn't even know what she's apologizing for. Edit 2. Mother is telling me I deserve to be arrested for saying no, and that the rest of the family was discussing it too. She literally told me this. Let's start judging. You're not in the wrong. But what TF is wrong with your grandma and your mom? Why the hell can't they believe that you're sick? Why don't they understand the meaning of no? Don't apologize to her, and certainly maintain that boundary, because clearly these people aren't thinking about how you feel. You're not in the wrong. Your grandmother has no right to harass you. Basic etiquette says, once you've been told that an action of yours is problematic, you cease and desist. It's that simple. You don't argue about it. That's the rudest thing you can do. If anyone in my family were like that, I would just quit visiting and go no contact. You're not in the wrong. As a person who recently got over being sick, similar symptoms, but I had lasted for several weeks, and I still have coughing fits every once in a while, I absolutely understand wanting to be left alone, not wanting to spread I had to others, and having my personal space. Your grandmother's actions are the main problem here. She has absolutely no respect for your personal space, and is in denial that you are sick. Honestly, at her age, you'd think she'd be more careful, as even the common cold can end up becoming severely bad for her. Your mother and rest of family aren't innocent either. They know you are sick. They heard you when you said you want to be left alone because you are sick. But they just don't care or respect you enough to listen to you. I'd say going no contact with grandmother is the way forward if she refuses to acknowledge her missteps. And if your mom or other family members try to gaslight you or push you to apologize for setting boundaries and refusing to be gaslit, you need to go low contact or no contact with them. Next up, my sister, 34F, and I, 32F, have a complicated relationship due to our narcissistic mother, but we've bonded in adulthood. We both have ADHD and mental health struggles. Eve doesn't really have close friends besides me, whereas I've built a small but solid circle since meeting my fiancé in 2017. We're having a relaxed weekend wedding at Holiday Cottages, 190 pounds. My maid of honor and I fell out this year due to her being in an abusive relationship. Eve never liked her, and quickly offered to take over planning my hen do. I was grateful, but worried, as she isn't the most organized. Originally, my MOH planned a weekend away, 300 plus, which Eve criticized as too expensive. So I was surprised when she arranged a trip to Amsterdam for 350 pound. She assured me 8 were coming and 20 for a local hen do. I trusted her. Time passed, and I had to chase her for details. She said it would be booked on Jan 17th, but didn't mention that everyone dropped out due to cost, leaving just me, her, and one bridesmaid. When the 17th came and nothing was booked, I asked what was going on. She admitted it was just us 3, and I said not to bother with Amsterdam. She got defensive, saying she couldn't force people to come. I never expected that. I just expected her to make it affordable, which she didn't. After criticizing my MOH for cost, she planned something even more expensive. I know Amsterdam is somewhere she's always wanted to go, and I feel like my hen do became more about that than what I wanted. She accused me of caring more about quantity than quality, which wasn't true at all. It wasn't about numbers. It was about having my friends there, which she completely overlooked. She left the hen chat and blocked me on WhatsApp. A few days later, I heard she was struggling with her daughter, so I tried to reach out. She ignored my calls, and when I finally got through via iMessage, she said she didn't want to speak to me because I'd called the hen do a car crash, which It kind of was, considering some girls didn't even know about Amsterdam. Since then, I've planned my own hen do. 12 of us are going to a cottage with a hot tub for £140. I didn't want to fall out, so I had a bridesmaid add her back into the chat to see the new plans. She left immediately. I texted her, asking if she was coming to the hen do or wedding, since she still hasn't paid for her accommodation, due in December. No response. Now I don't know what to do. I haven't lashed out or been cruel, and I don't feel like I deserve this treatment. People keep telling me to reach out again, but I already tried. I don't see why I should keep bending over backwards when she's the one who blocked me. I need to decide whether to tell the venue we have 2 fewer guests. If I don't, I'm stuck paying for her and my niece. If I do, then this argument might be the final straw for our relationship. Let's start judging. You're not in the wrong. Any idiot would know that the purpose of a hen party is to go with the whole group. Send her a message saying that you will love for her to come. But if you haven't heard from her by date X, you will let the venue know to book for -2. Up to her to respond. Stop chasing her and giving her control of the situation by acknowledging her tantrum-like behavior. If she doesn't join, her decision, not your responsibility. Then go out and enjoy your hen party with your real friends. You're not in the wrong. Send her an email outlining the commitments, ask her to confirm if she's attending, and give her a deadline. Be clear. No response, no space, and the invites to hen do and wedding are retracted. Then move on and enjoy the lead up to your wedding. Don't let her steal your moment. You're not in the wrong. Sis wanted to turn you hen do into her do. You have reached out multiple times without a response, which in itself is a response. I will leave one last message. I have reached out to you on multiple occasions to confirm plans. As you have not responded, I can only assume that you no longer wish to be involved or come to my wedding. Since that seems to be the case, I will no longer be reaching out. I will accept your choice not to share this day with me. I will miss you, but these are the consequences of your choices.